Hey, welcome everybody to They Talk Funny. This is the interview show about comedy writing, living during lockdown, and basically inspirations. I've got a very special guest in studio with me today. That is, how about I introduce you to him at this moment? Please put your hands together, or at least how about doing some comments, either some likes or comments, because if you want to ask questions, you can ask questions as well. I have the hilarious David Brennan with me today. Welcome, David. Welcome to your office, your home office.
Thanks.
You've got. Sorry, just looking in back, I see that you've got a printer, a filing cabinet, and a statue from Pixar.
That's right. Yes.
Behind you. This is.
It's a serious office.
It's a serious. You definitely have a serious office
show like yours, Paul. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. This is okay. First time, I didn't realize when I first saw you perform that you had also been in the Imponderables, because I've heard the Imponderables before. Okay, David. Yeah, how long have you been doing stand up? Because were you doing stand up before sketch or during sketch or?
Long before sketch. So I got quite an early start. I was 17.
Young and talented, you prick. All right.
I know you're a young guy. You were 19, correct?
The very first time.
Yeah.
Well, hold it. I'm supposed to have done research on you. This is a little creepy. I normally don't tell people how long I've been doing stand up without a lawyer present. But
my God.
I had ins and outs with stand up through the years, because I actually lived in a place where there was no stand up for a good number of years.
Nova Scotia.
But there's stand up comedy in Nova Scotia now.
Yes,
that's what's there. But I mean, you've won a Canadian Comedy Award with the Imponderables.
Yeah, quite a few actually. We were very lucky. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. You've appeared at Just for Laughs,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what confused the hell out of me, was when I first, because there was a time when I definitely was more keyed in with the comedy across Canada than I sort of drifted out again. And I was on a show in Ottawa, and I watched you go on stage.
The Wellington Eatery, I think.
The Wellington Eatery.
Yeah, I remember.
It was an amazingly fun show.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away. Why do I not know this guy's name?
Right.
Your entire, the Michael Caine bit is what you closed on, which was amazing to me. So you've been doing comedy since you were 17. I should probably know this if I had done research. Exactly how old are you now?
I'm 38.
You're 38. So over half your life you've been a performer.
Yeah.
Doing comedy. So wow, you must. Yeah, this is, and you've never had any off periods.
A little bit. So I started stand up, and then I met the guys who would form my troupe, the Imponderables, and then so for the next 12 years, my full-time focus was sketch. I would do a few shows a month at the Mics in Toronto, but I'd sort of left my sort of path I was on, say with Yuck Yucks at the time, to do the sketch route, and always kind of with the idea I would return to stand up. And it's funny you mentioned that show at the Wellington. The year previous or so was my re-entry point into stand up. I moved to Ottawa, and I was like, that's the time I'm going to go back to stand up full time.
And you did broadcasting in Hamilton?
Yeah.
In what capacity? You were a newscaster?
I was I worked my way up to like weekend reporter, and sometimes fill in during the week. But it was largely a writing job and some lineup producing, and more like putting the show together kind of stuff. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This is, I have to get used to the eye lines with this, because my camera's here, but I want to watch you, because all right. So let's delve into writing.
Sure.
One of the things that really hit me about you, because every city sort of has its own style, but you, and I believe it comes from how much you were writing sketch, you were very physical.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a lot of act outs and presentation to your jokes. When you're writing, are you thinking along those lines, or do you write the joke, the hook, and then see what you can do physically to match it? Which
Right.
works for you?
I think the first. I think writing with the physicality in mind is something I go over. But sometimes, like, you'll kind of just be riffing or catch a groove, and then sometimes it will be like, well, actually, I wonder what that looks like, and maybe that's like the next step in like rehearsing the bit and trying to refine it that way, like really seeing how an audience is going to see it. But yeah, I think it's kind of, it feels like a natural thing as opposed to like, and now I'm going to wink, you know. I think it comes out of hopefully that organic place, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things you seem cartoon yet natural on stage.
Oh,
Like
that's cool.
if I don't know if that's I hope that's a selling point. It's not meant as an insult.
I think it is a great compliment.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you just like, even with the big smile that you have here now, it's just
I'm
you've
looking
got,
at you.
I got a crooked smile. I don't know why. I'm old and my mouth doesn't work right. So you've got a big beautiful smile. You're very likable on stage.
Thank you.
You engage with the audience, but so you're not afraid of doing the crowd work, but you also really nail and can tie things back into your written bits very well, which is a great stagecraft.
Oh, thank you.
Tool.
Yeah, I've been lucky the past year or so. I've gotten to do some more hosting at the clubs here in Ottawa, at Absolute and some Yuck Yucks, and that's kind of my favorite night on a weekend too. But like the Monday, Tuesday nights, because it's that great mix of riffing and then kind of going off what, you know, you've hosted countless amateur nights yourself. You know what? And, you know, like you're kind of with the audience, and then you're kind of on the comic side, and also not a bad place to try out some newer
material. The other thing is the difference between hosting a weekend and hosting a like an early week show.
Yeah,
is there's 10 or 14 guys on the show, so you've got to keep it moving, but you also you can take the time to sort of riff on what they just did. To interact with the audience, and it's
yeah. And then I got to do my first week hosting the Absolute Ottawa Club here for Lamont Ferguson, and that was a great experience too, because he's such sort of a crafted headliner. So you know, he would do a bit more time. Even he did 50 minutes every night, which was fine by me. And we were actually like a really good match, I think, because we both, I think, kind of bump up the show energy, you know, like we're doing a real show here, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I had the pleasure of working with Lamont in Ottawa as well. And he's definitely, he's full on like pro, but he's also, talented. He's got the energy. He's got the energy and the engaging personality with the audience.
Brow sweat. He's such a pro. He's got the handkerchief ready to go, you know?
So what is your process though for when you're coming up with jokes? So you do think of the physicality when you're writing, but do you sit down every day to try to type out, or do you wait for inspiration, or are you
maybe a mix? I think I'm pretty in tune with myself as a writer, whether it's like stand-up, storytelling, short stories now. I go on rhythms. So I'm really happy. You know, one day is like, I'm going to take all my phone notes and shake them out of my phone onto a big white pad. And then from the white pad, it is really nice to see a typed out clean version in the end. But I'm sort of that way. Like, phone note is usually great because it means something happened while I was out and engaged in the world. And then I like to feel it on my hand, on the callus, you know, long form. And that's to really try to shrink down those setups, you know, fewest words possible, 1 syllable, 2 syllables, if possible. And then it's, maybe the typing is just for me, you know, where it's like, it's a finished joke, you know?
Yeah. Well, no, I definitely, I kind of go through those things. Sometimes I'll pull it. Like I use what's it called? The comedy. There's actually a comedian in Alberta who came up with an app to help write and organize your bits. I'm trying to think of the name of the app, which I can't right now. So I'll if you can remember what it is, please just mention it out in the comments so we can put it on screen. Yeah, but I use that, but I usually will go back to pen and paper just to write it out. I know that's not environmentally friendly. I try to be, but I do that, and then I'll also talk it out before I actually type it out, so I have the file on my computer. So, and we've got to say hi to Dave from George and Carol Sabora.
That's my my brother's wife's family, so they're watching. They must have seen the Facebook today.
All right, the Facebook. That's. I didn't they stop calling it the Facebook? It became Facebook. Wasn't that part of the network movie?
Timberlake scene. You're right, in the restaurant where he's like, just Facebook. Yeah.
There we are.
I guess I forgot that part.
This is the other thing. You have like an encyclopedic knowledge of pop culture, of movies.
HMV years.
Yeah, you were working for HMV, so that's 8 years. Which, well, no, because there's a part of that you were there because you enjoyed the end process. I don't know how you felt about the job, but
loved it. I wish I could go back. I dream about it all the time. I'm in my stacks. For 2 years, I was the rock and pop buyer for the HMV Superstore at Yonge and Dundas. And so I got to, go to the shows and get the merch and the samples and everything. And we could organize our own shelves still. It was just before like the last death rattle. So it was really kind of a sweet time. But yeah, I worked at Queen Street across from Much Music for a couple of years, and also at Eglinton. So I got around. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to grow up.
Yeah, no, the Sam's in Halifax was iconic. So definitely, I remember I did radio in Halifax, just community radio for about 4.5 years.
The best.
And it was great because the Halifax music scene at that time was just popping.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's cool, man. You were like really plugged in then, and part of the whole sort of infrastructure.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I got to get into some shows for free. I paid for most everything I went to, but it's I almost killed Gord Downey at one point. So yeah, this is that's an embarrassing story. Why did I have to? Okay,
it might be a sidebar for another show.
For another show, yeah. Somebody who does research, if they ever want to interview me, that'll probably be the way it goes. Now you're doing the Outdoor Adventure Film Festival or Ottawa
Adventure Film Festival.
Ottawa Adventure Film Festival.
I hosted it back in November at the Mayfair Theater over 2 weekends. It was a really fun time. These films are like just incredible, short pieces from all around the world. And we just did our first sort of from the couch edition, which I hosted and sort of pre-recorded all these bits and stuff. And it was really fun. I think we had like over 1,000 people tune in. So we're doing it again on Saturday, June 13th.
Saturday, June 13th. So what media can they find that on?
Yeah, the event's on Facebook. It's at their website. And then you will register through Eventbrite, and then you get the private YouTube link the afternoon of the show.
Okay, I'm just putting this out here before I lose it. This is one of the things I have to state is if you're watching on Facebook, I just put up a link in the chat, and if you're watching on YouTube, the link is there as well. David does have his own YouTube channel, but he needs 100 followers so he can change the name.
This is the show that's going to do it.
Yeah, we're going to try to do it, but you can also make sure you follow him on Instagram. So it's Brennan David N. On what's the N stand for?
It's my middle name, Nicholas.
Nicholas. I gotta fire my research department. I didn't find out what your middle name was. So but they're in the chat now, so you can see that. If you're watching, if you have any questions for David or any shout-outs that you want to do, just put them in the chat comments. We'll bring them up. If you are watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, ring the bell on the bottom there. Yeah, he's tapping the bell because we do these They Talk Funny with comedians about writing comedy, but I also do the Battlecom game show, and my friend the Love Doctor takes it over every Wednesday night.
I love that guy.
It's he's got a lot of love and a little bit of a drinking problem, but it's something that does happen. So yeah, so we got David's on Instagram, so you can follow David. Now, okay, so we described that the process is it's usually a bit more organic. So you don't force yourself to write. You don't sit down like every day and say I have to write an hour, even if I don't feel like it. You just do.
Yeah, I do sit down every day.
Okay.
Structure for me is the only way I know I can get any results out of myself. So even during our quarantine time, I'm trying to stick to my regular schedule, which is getting up really early and doing like an hour and a half of anything I need to do, whether it's writing, notes from the last night's show, emails to send. And then I go to work. I worked 4 days a week at a little vegan restaurant.
Oh, okay. So
I'm done that by like 3 p.m. And then it's great for show days because then I just chill out, have dinner. And then it's almost like a whole second day is the evening. But I do like that sort of office hour and a half every day. It's the best creative time for me is the early morning. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Now I'm so you are actually an essential service. You are in a restaurant. This restaurant doing takeout food only, or
Yeah, they are, yeah. So I'm not involved in that side of things, but yeah, they're doing well and obviously waiting for updates, just like everyone else.
like
you know.
everyone else?
I live in a neighborhood where we met at the Wellington.
Yeah.
A little Hintonburg, Wellington West area. So we're just trying to get out and support the places that we love, and got a fresh stack of records from the record shop just today. So yeah, it's nice to see the community come together. But yeah, it'll be nice to return to normalcy to a degree. I was a pretty happy camper.
Yeah, that record shop in Hindenburg is deadly. It's my wallet. It's like a great place. Like it's like this. Yeah, it's a.
Spend all your show money, Paul.
Yeah, show money. Show money. What show money do I get? Yeah, all those big bucks of exposure I get to spend. Oh, exposure bucks. They're accepted everywhere, are they not?
Yeah, they take them at the record store.
Yeah. So, and here I am. I'm plugging them. I'm not even saying their name. I should say the name of the shop. Say the name of the shop.
It's the Record Center, and there's another great one just a bit further in Westboro called Legends Records, which is great too. Yeah.
That's yeah. It's always deadly when I go into an old vinyl shop because I just. Yeah. It's actually I'm going to ask this question. What's the best comedy album you've ever heard? Like top in your top three, just one in your top three is fine.
When I was, I guess maybe about 13, I got a cassette, Bob Newhart, Button Down Mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mind bending, right? And then you look back and you're like, that was insane for the time. It would be insane 20 years later. It's insane now. Just the monologues. Like as a kid learning comedy, it's like, okay, here's the premise, it's King Kong. He's climbing the Empire State Building, but it's like a night watchman's first night on the job. As a kid, you're just like, how did he even think of that? Like comedy's insane, right? And like that's a favorite, obviously, like the driving instructor.
Oh yeah, just the timing. Like he's doing half of a conversation, but it's timed perfectly.
And you can hear the nightclub, you can hear the clinks of the glass, and there's noise, and you can tell there's probably smoke. Like it's just so cool. Yeah. So that was a huge one.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on the fact that the comic strip in Calgary has opened?
Right. Yeah, amazing, right? And I know it was still like up and down. The Alberta Health came, and then even though there's 25% capacity.
Yeah, that's what they were going for.
Yeah, and what I read is there's other restaurants on the strip there who are open.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and they're. I think the law stated that they could be at 50%, but Rick Bronson said only 25% now.
Yes.
And I believe that's because they're licensed as a restaurant. So when because liquor licenses all have, each province stratifies the liquor licenses differently.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the different choices.
I see.
So he had taken it as a restaurant because they serve food as well as did entertainment.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, I follow Brett Forte. I got to work with him at the Abs in Kingston last year.
Yeah.
He's booked there, or was recently. And I also know he's kind of part of this sort of drive-in movie theater scene, which is cool and exciting to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But wouldn't that be nice to be in that position? I know Howard here at Yucks is definitely keeping an eye on everything and wants to reopen at limited capacity or semi at some point. And yeah, I'm sure Jason and Absolute's keep an eye on the same thing.
Yeah, I'm
like David there at the Nest, right?
We have like the Wiggle Room is where I had a weekly show, and that is like I'm definitely of mixed minds. I want to be performing, but at the same point, I want to be safe.
Yes,
and it's a conflict within. It's like I want to open up, but I don't want to open up too soon.
Yeah, I've got a project I'm working on writing right now, and it's going to be for October. And I do a lot of work with the Ottawa storytellers here.
Okay,
that brings me actually into Montreal sometimes to do Confabulation, which is a great fantastic storytelling show. So right now for October, I have a theater date. It might be live with limited and a live stream. It might just be a live stream, and then we've got backup date in late January booked now too. So that's how, like for me, if you want to move ahead, booking the show, like even for the fall, it's like a 3-4 pronged approach, like all these different options. And but look, everyone's finding their footing. We're going to find a way. Like you're killing it with all your projects too. Like it's kind of the new deal, I guess.
It was like I had to go. I had all these projects that I wanted to do, and they were all sitting kind of in the back of my head, and it was like, I'm going to do them now. That's going to be the best thing. So this show it's October that it's booked. Is that going to be, that's Exhumed?
No, it's a new show. Yeah.
It's a new show.
I was just set to do Exhumed here in Ottawa for 2 nights in the very first weekend of April, which obviously we called off still kind of early on. I was following like the lead of the NAC and like the GCTC theater here. So the day that they announced like their close, I was like, I'm right on it. Like I want to get these refunds out to people. And instead of like just bringing that show, I thought with the time, I do a brand new show of scary stories for Halloween for the Ottawa Storytellers, which is a really nice thing to kind of have this thing to work towards with still a deadline, but a lot of time for first drafts, put it in the drawer, forget about it, and come back to it kind of process.
I'm okay. You're doing the storytelling, you're doing the stand-up, you've done sketch. Yeah. I'm surprised you're not a published author at this point.
Oh, right. No, I just kind of started putting a couple of things out with the Ottawa Storytellers. I wrote a short story for them to help launch their Patreon page. I'm kind of finding my way through that. I studied some short fiction at U of T a long time ago, and I've got writing background in broadcast and everything like that. So yeah, well, I think I'm kind of building up to that through the storytelling, but I've been very fortunate to find this group here in Ottawa when I moved here with my wife. It's been a launching pad. It's been a workshop. I wouldn't have my Fringe show Exhumed without the Ottawa Storytellers and doing monthly story swaps and other shows. And again, it's led me to a great relationship with Confabulation in Montreal, which I love doing so much. It's just such a great scene there. Yeah.
Do you think once, the Fringe this year is in Montreal is.
Yeah. With everything.
But do you think that you'll be applying to be in the Montreal Fringe next year, or touring with another show? Or
hopefully, yeah, that would be a great option. I have the most fantastic memories of Montreal Fringe. My troupe, the Imponderables, it was the first time in 2001, again in 2002. We came back in 2004, and we were lucky enough to win the Best New Comedy. And at the time, the prize was 2 spots at JFL. Yeah, we got to see Mitch Hedberg and Jim Gaffigan. We did our club sets at Club Soda was one, and then the sketch venue. And that was
which years again?
That was 2004, and then we got brought back.
I met you.
Yeah, I know. Like when we met, I'm like, you're like either an eternal, a person you meet every lifetime, or we've met before.
I worked backstage at the Club Soda for the festival.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we did, I think a couple spots there.
Yeah. So, well, mystery solved.
The best time, the best Fringe tent. So for those 2 years, we also did all the way across Canada, all the way to Vancouver, Victoria. But Montreal Fringe is the best because the other touring performers start there too, and they party too hard. They blow their voices. They blow their wallet. And then you see them in Winnipeg, and they're like, hey, man, can I have a smoke? They're like, party too hard in Montreal.
Montreal... is the city for that.
Drag races they do every year, which you can't even like get a spot on the street because it's so popular. People over the fence, like it's too much. And great memories there. But yeah, the future, hopefully that, or maybe just try to do a little bit of a self-production in Montreal. Maybe I should ask Confabulation if they'd want to be part of that. Yeah, but we'll see. Lots of plans. In the meantime, I think it's just like trying to work on stuff that can move ahead, you know? So I think something like this Halloween show is great because it's going to be a lot of classic, timeless stuff, a couple of like well-known things, my own stuff, but you know, it can be done in the future. It's not related to like this scary time we're going through. And I was like, are people going to want to see a scary show? And like, we're living in scariness all day long, but like, I don't know, maybe it'll be more of a upbeat thing.
I don't, yeah. Now that we're mentioning upbeat, let me, Montreal is the 7th worst hit city.
You guys, I know.
The world.
I look at the numbers every day and I'm just like, holy jeans, man.
Yeah.
Really
yeah, I'm actually, I do shared custody.
Okay.
Which is weird. I'm the person being shared. I have my office and all my stuff is set up in one location, so I have roommates there, and my wife and her two daughters.
Right.
Don't quite have enough room for me to fully move in.
Right.
We've been married for a year, so it's like 2 residents just kind of works well.
Yes.
And so it's I if I go from one to the other, it's got to be at least a clean 14 days. We're doing social distancing.
Yeah,
Both households are being very safe, but at the same time, I don't want, like, one of my roommates is a cancer survivor, so he's immunosuppressed, which means if he gets it, it's bad.
Yeah.
So
I really do love the setup of that, the shared custody. That's great. Yeah. That's great.
it's the best way to kind of explain it. So it's oh, sorry, I'm missing comments coming in. I apologize on that. We get Claudio Capri. He's also somebody else who's trying to grow his YouTube channel. Nice. He's asking how the both of us are. I think we're doing all right. We're enjoying each other's company and all this. It's yeah, David, I really kind of want to. I know you've given me some broad strokes, but I want to pick your mind about what you find funny. Sure. Like, what to you is something that you want to delve in to do a joke, because I find your writing is creative. It's full body when you do it, because when you're performing, you have a strong physicality, but it's you also have that emotive context, and it comes off as so pure all the time. Right. I mean, that Michael Caine bit is just like the memory to remember every Michael Caine film. Well,
4 months it took. Yeah.
How many was it?
4 months.
4 months.
Yeah, of like having the list, and I would take the train to my crappy job at the time to Carleton University, and I would be practicing. If I could make it to 4 more movie titles, then by the break, then I'll be on to something. And now it's like kind of a happy memory now, because I don't work that job anymore. But now when I see the O train go by, I'm just like, oh yeah. And because I didn't know if it was going to work. Like, for anyone not familiar, it's a gentleman at HMV in my real job wanted to know where all the Michael Caine posters were. And it's not a thing. But in my head, the fantasy sequence is, I wish we had them all. So I do all Michael Caine's movies from A to Z. There are over 110 of them, I think, in alphabetical order. And it's funny. It gets not funny. It gets funny again, and it kind of is like a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, it hits that absurd level.
Yeah,
and your sell on it is perfect.
Well, I yeah, the setup really happened, so that was the easy part.
Yeah.
But yeah, so learning it alphabetically was the only way, just like you would learn lines in a play, just like 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. But it's brutal and boring, and thank God people like the bit. Otherwise, that was a huge waste of my life. Terrible. My wife's like, "What are you doing? You're crazy."
It reminds me of a piece of knowledge. Is if you learn something that makes you sound smart, or something, if you focus on one thing, you can sound smart on that, and people will assume you're so smart on everything else. So I assume that your entire you had an encyclopedic knowledge of all films, not just Michael Caine.
Right, yeah.
I almost felt like you could do it with every actor. And Claudio's asking, what is your favorite Michael Caine film?
Oh, fantastic. Well, I think the Dark Knight movies are too obvious because that's just killer. How about The Italian Job? Yeah. Yeah. I got his book too. It's called Blowing the Bloody Doors Off. Yeah. It's a great book. Obviously, I get Michael Caine gifts now from people. So
That is okay. That's sweet. Yeah, it's I get people swinging baseball bats at me.
yeah. Yeah.
It's mixed blessing. There is. All right. You also do a number of impressions as well. How do you approach that? Like you just pulled out a Michael Caine. You weren't full on. I've seen you do it better.
That was an impression of someone else's Michael Caine. You know, like when the SNL effect. Where you're like, yeah, you're doing Biden. You're doing, this guy's Biden. Impressions. I do some physical stuff. I do a couple of creatures and stuff. But unless I'm hosting, maybe an impression might pop out. But it's not really my kind of forte. My sketch troupe, we never did too many impressions like that. We were more like Monty Python, Kids in the Hall kind of based, just more like really surreal, absurd stuff. But yeah, when I do nail an impression, it's like, oh, sweet. I do Tom Petty now. I do Tom Petty. Yeah. I did a little video. It was called the Tom Petty Driving School. And it's just me and my wife straightening my hair. And the Tom Petty Driving School goes like this. He just goes, hey, man, why don't you walk? Tom Petty. See, it's terrible. It's only for me. Worst impression. Someone not everyone knows, and just for me.
Oh, hold it. We've got. Oh, sorry. He agreed with you on the Dark Knights. He's the best Alfred to date. But he's asking you if you do a Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Well, everybody does Bane. Tom Hardy, man. I wish I could do a Tom Hardy impression when he plays both the brothers in Legend. Ronnie Cray and his brother.
Yeah, the Crays.
That one's too nuts. But I don't know.
What was the film he did with Cumberbatch? Was it Alexander or Anthony?
I don't think I saw that.
He's just complete mumble speak.
Yeah.
It's worse than him in Peaky Blinders.
Oh, okay.
He's like he's mumbling further, but he was Claudio's agreeing that Legend is a good film. But yeah, in this film he's playing I believe a drug addict and schizophrenic.
Oh wow. And the Bronson and all he's a very hardcore person.
Yeah. He is. Oh man. Okay, so the Imponderables, Kids in the Hall, you said, Monty Python, Kids in the Hall. You're not just saying they were influences because, well, they're everybody's influences. Sure. But you actually, I think it was 2010. Was it he presented you the Canadian Comedy Award? I know he was there. You've got a picture.
Yeah,
with the rest of the Imponderables.
Yeah, I think everybody except for Mark was there. And I wish I've got a picture of it somewhere, but somehow some water got spilt at the podium. And so everyone was doing these crazy, elaborate pratfalls. Like they were all, so the Kids in the Hall and all the Imponderables ended up in a pile with just arms and legs. And someone had the award. I think the base snapped off.
Ouch.
Yeah, but it was too much. Like imagine, the Kids in the Hall, like, being part of your comedy award. It was crazy. Yeah.
On your Instagram, people will be able to see the picture of the Imponderables minus a member and plus Kevin McDonald. So
yeah, we got the chance to do something with pretty much all the kids at different points, and sometimes Scott Thompson would be around and would come on the Rivoli shows at the Sketch Lounge on Tuesdays, and what a great friend he is to all the scene, and like he walks in a comedy bar or something like that, like any of those guys. So yeah, just how lucky we were. Like when we started, there was a good group of sort of Toronto sketch groups, and then there was us and the Sketchersons, which became Sunday Night Live, and then it kind of goes in ebbs and flows, right? But yeah, the Frantics were another big help to us and influence. Dan Redican, who does all kinds of TV stuff, but yeah, it was a really good scene. Sort of that era, Rivoli, just before Comedy Bar, then Comedy Bar. It was amazing to be a part of.
That's fantastic. We also Peter Bowen has just dropped in to say he's heckling Claudio because Claudio was very upset with Tom Hardy's Capone. If you don't understand by the name Claudio Capri, he's very Italian, so he has great opinions on a lot of.
Don't get him started on the Irishman.
Yeah,
not long enough for him, he said.
The CGI was a little much, but if anyone has any comments, just drop them in below. Make sure that you're liking and following so we can do this. If you want to support the channel, I know I greatly appreciate it. So there's a PayPal me that's running at the bottom. Ring the bell so you know when things are happening. Now, you've mentioned your influences sketch-wise. Who would be your influences stand-up wise?
I love Derek Edwards. I saw him when he was in Ottawa a few months ago, and it was just the best. Like, he just walks out, and just starts being brilliant. Like, when you watch a really good comedy show or like, a big theater show, and you're like, how did these even start? Like, I don't even remember the first joke, and it's just because it was just swoop and like right into it.
Yeah.
So him for sure. I love a lot of the, the Canadian guys that are here and ones that have gone off. I love Jason Rouse from Hamilton. I got to be around him a lot back in the late 90s. Manolis, of course, best friends. One of his many best friends. Those lean days. And then like I was back in Hamilton for a couple of years and we were doing like a lot of open mics and stuff, sleeping on my couch. Some things never change. But yeah.
Manolis.
Yeah, I love Manolis. I love Paul Meyerhog. He lives and he does abs and he's on the Snowed In comedy tour with Zed Lacker.
Yes.
And I love him. That's like a comedy crush. So we've gotten to do a couple of shows together, but I just love him. And then like he just flies back to like his home in France at a beautiful like little villa. Like, who is this guy?
This historic property that they've restored to live in.
Yeah. But if anyone watching, check out Paul Meyerhog.
And that's Myrehaug.
Yes.
So definitely Paul Meyerhaug is somebody I definitely recommend. To bring back though, like Derek Edwards. When I was sort of starting and I was talking to other comics, it was like Derek Edwards sort of set the landscape for a touring comic in Canada. Yeah. He was the guy that sort of said to like, I don't know how this came about to be attributed to him because but now it's pretty pervasive knowledge is that when he would go in, he would comb the local newspapers back when local newspapers were local. And even if it's just like the couple photostat sheets at the diner. Yeah. So he would get the local names, he would get the local references, and he would do a joke that his opening joke every time in a place was about that place.
Amazing.
And it just showed a skill, a dedication, and adaptability as a comedian that sort of became one of the standards. Like, I mean, in Canada, Yucks sort of enforced the rule that you became a middle before you became a host.
Right.
And in the States, people generally didn't do that. It was like the guy that hosts is the guy that has the least amount of experience because he's just supposed to be up and off.
Yeah.
But it was like Yucks was the people who understood. I mean, I did Yucks. I great respect for Mark Breslin, but I mean, I can see where there's some things where it's not as perfect.
Yep.
But they did so much for comedy in Canada for so long. And one of the things was they realized that having a good host leads to a good show.
Yeah.
And they sort of pioneered that. So I hope I didn't say anything bad, but it's
so many comedians got so good because of the Yucks structure. And then the ones that were in that structure for a while and then found their way out or whatever, I don't think you can deny how that club chain could teach you how to be a comedian,
They basically would took care of a lot of your self-management, your management and promotion, which I think keep some comedians there, but the comedians who learn to do that kind of have the chance of growing past yucks.
Yeah.
And it's a simple business thing, and it's cool and it's okay. Matt Beth is just dropping some love your way.
My sister-in-law.
Your sister-in-law is named Matt?
Oh, she's in my brother's name. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Usually they only take the last name.
That's full committal. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Dan Allaire is watching. Dan is from Cornwall, a comedian. I got to do his show in Cornwall. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, David is definitely a great host. So
Dan's killing it there in Ottawa.
Yeah, in Ottawa as well. He's been popping here too. He's like smack dab between Montreal and Dan is a radio guy, so he's got the radio voice. Like I can't do his voice. It's just I border on annoying with my voice, and that's sort of my thing. But Dan sounds cool, so.
And he gets up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, starts his shift sometimes at 4. And then I don't know what he does, naps or something. Then he drives to Ottawa to do a spot. Like, this guy's crazy. Everyone get out of his way. I love it.
He definitely has the love. So big shout out to Dan. And Claudio, can't wait to see you in Montreal. So I think everybody can't wait for the stages to be open safely here. Dan has to argue with me slightly on this. For all the people who are spouses or partners of performers, thank you for your mercy. I'm going to say that right now. How has your wife reacted to you as a performer, David?
During this, very well. She's the best, and she gave me the office for this a bit early in the day. She's working from home, but she's great, and she helps me with all my stuff and my fringe show certainly. But yeah, she's basically like the only person I riff with. I kind of see obviously on a regular basis. So, but man, my wife's quick with a tag. She's great with a setup too, and I'm a lucky guy. She's hilarious.
That's the Love Doctor, who is about relationship advice, is if you're waking up thinking you're a lucky person, then they're waking up thinking they're a lucky person. That's what it takes to make it through. Is she also your camera person for the sketches such as you've done for the Ottawa Adventure Film Festival?
Yeah, she took some time off work to help me with that. But yeah, the crew, they're out of Chelsea in Quebec, and the border, the bridges were still closed, but they had gear in Ottawa, so they Ubered over the camera gear to me so I could shoot the stuff. So we're adapting on the fly here. But yeah, my wife, we met working in news in Hamilton, and she was a full-time reporter for 5 years on air. And with that comes being a VJ. So she can shoot, she can edit, she can do it all. I'm a lucky guy.
I'm married into a camera crew.
Come in on a spiral in, and I'm like, oh yeah, sure, honey, yeah.
Oh, that's I have to say my wife used to work for Radio Canada, so it's interesting. She was on air. She was more a researchist, but she was on air when 9/11 happened. So yeah, she handles crisis well. She's been with the city doing crisis planning now for the reopening of the libraries, etc.
Oh wow, that's a big job.
Yeah. Claudio wants to know if you've been in any films since you have your acting background.
Oh, yes. Any films? Not really. No, more just some like Canadian TV.
Any good roles that you like thoroughly enjoyed, or
the Ron James show was always so kind to me.
And he's a nice guy as well. So
and his producer Lynn Harvey, we worked with her on a pilot for Kevin McDonald from Kids in the Hall. But then she went on to the Ron James show, and she was always so kind. They had me on 2 or 3 times. So that's a memorable one. And then with my troupe, the Imponderables, after we did a pilot in LA for MTV, we came back, and that didn't get picked up. And then we pitched around here. But the show that we ended up being able to make was called Bill and Sons Towing. and it's 2 seasons of a web series that we did with the Independent Production Fund. So fully funded actor shoot, created by Mark DeAngelis and Charles Ketchuba. And Mark now does Odd Squad for PBS in New York. So it's been just one of his many things. But yeah, it was the show of our dreams. We play 4 brothers who have the same dad. It's Nicholas Campbell from Da Vinci's Inquest. And we have 4 different mums. Each one of us have our own mom. So we had like Jane Eastwood on, and Sonia Smits is a mom. So yeah, we got to do 2 seasons of it, fully funded. And that was like kind of the sitcom dream, and a nice, wow. Oh my God.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to kind of see that.
So embarrassing. I feel like my older brother just came in the room. This is Eric Toth from the Imponderables, and we live together in a basement apartment in High Park in Toronto. And I feel like my older brother's got me in a headlock right now. Just burn.
Hey, Eric, no noogies, no noogies.
Amazing. He's like hacking this. Eric also works with Mark on Odd Squad. Eric wrote for the Ron James Show. He's worked on Still Standing with Johnny Harris, so he's having some fun, obviously. But yeah, there's Eric. Eric was like the chief architect of the Imponderables sketches. Eric taught at Humber Comedy College for quite a few years, teaching sketch.
Nice
faculty. So he's the architect guy.
I know a lot of great comics who have come through that program. So thank you, Eric. We have been live for 46 minutes. These things are normally just a half hour, but you've been a pleasure to talk to. That's one of the benefits. I'm going to lead into another question, so we might as well just try to shoot for the hour. Do you think the lockdown has actually improved opportunities for performers now that there's so many streaming shows that are happening?
Yeah.
What do you think that's doing to?
It's so weird. I like to keep an eye on things, even though like I'm really kind of a bit outside some of the industry, like I do my stuff sort of between Hamilton and Montreal. But what a weird time for comics who are taking their existing platforms now online. Comics who have already been doing this, like yourself, you've already been doing this stuff already.
No,
some of it, no.
The thing is, the Love Doctor was a weekly show that would happen live.
Right. I know
Battlecom had been running about 8 years as a live show that I really wanted to make into like a TV show.
Right.
And so we're just now taking that to stream it live.
Okay. Maybe Battlecom was already that's already a live show.
It was a live show, but it wasn't. We hadn't made it into a right. Something streamable.
So then you're in that category then of like, let's get this on the go. And just like the film festival that I'm working with, it's the same thing. It's like, how do we do this? But then it's like, so this like CBC had their upfronts yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I read the recap sort of by Bill Brew, who's writes solo TV stuff now, but I used to write a TV column either for the Globe or the Star. I'm blanking. And like Tall Boys got renewed, sketch show for season 2. But like, what a strange time. And like the audience share they're, competing for, it just seems like, that scene near the end of Apocalypse Now, where they get to the scene at the bridge and all the soldiers are shooting off the fireworks. And Martin Sheen's trying to find who's in charge. And he goes, "Hey, who's your commanding officer?" And the guy looks at him and goes, "Ain't you?" And he runs away. That's what I feel like. Canadian show business was already Apocalypse Now. And now we're near the end. Like nobody knows what's going on. Nobody has a clue how to promote much of the stuff that they're doing. A lot of it, let's face it, is startup, and it's like pretty bad. I'm also like kind of plugged into the theater world, both here in Ottawa and beyond, of like, are you doing a Zoom reading? Like, what am I supposed to be watching here? And there's all sorts of reasons people are doing it, but I think the comedians are probably doing better than most.
Yeah, there's a lot of Zoom shows, et cetera, that's going around. David Allen Ranger just said that it's nice to hear your voice and nice that you're well. I think because of the globalization of the internet, it's now Canadians are presenting not just within Canada, where traditionally a lot of the money, people saying, well, you're in Canada, you're not good enough to put on TV,
Right.
or etc. So the fact that we have access to the tools that we can present ourselves, and we're just kind of cluing into this now, to get like this world market. I'm talking about a world market when we have 10 viewers watching us at this point in time. We've hit the double digits. I'm personally excited, but it's the quality of Canadian performers has always been out there, but we've never really recognized it until they go south.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you guys shot a pilot for MTV probably made it easier to sell doing something back in Canada. You think. Yeah, but Beth is saying she's so happy for your success, and I think we have the chance of continuing it. Like, there's okay, these guys do not offer any kind of financial consideration or whatever. The tool I'm using is called StreamYard,
right,
and it is so incredibly easy. Like I highly recommend it. I know if people go through me to look at it, to try the free version, and eventually buy it, I get a little bit of a kickback, which is nice. I get free months of usage. Nice. But if I can remember, yeah, I'm going to do their sales pitch for them.
Is this like an Avon thing? Is this like an Avon product thing?
An Avon product?
When they would go around the house and they'd be like cleaners and stuff. Go ahead. I want to hear it.
Well, no, they're all about making it stable, ease of use, and professional looking. So they have obviously upped what it looks like I can do. I mean, that's not even a brick wall behind me. It's
I feel like I can stay here a while. I'm so comfortable. Like, this is like, look at this.
It's almost like you're sitting in your office. Well, your wife's office. Yeah, I have no idea why I'm doing the newsy voice, but the newsy voice just pops on out whenever I'm feeling awkward. So it's this has been, I think, a delight and a revolution into performance. And it's the idea that as performers can kind of have a more direct control on our destiny. I know there's always going to be middlemen. There's always going to be people about promoting, etc.
Yeah.
But I'm answering my own question, but I want to know what your thoughts are.
Yeah. I think like everyone else, I'm, reeling from I had some stuff booked until like kind of November. So the crossing off of the calendar was like, just like, oh my God. And then you just want to axe the whole thing. In terms of moving ahead, I'm feeling kind of okay about it. Kind of like I said, I was going to plug in my computer. I'm here in Ottawa, and like I don't have an agent or a manager at the time, and I'm like no one's coming for me here, right? So I'm just going to do my own stuff. And I knew I wanted to do a fringe show. I'd been working on it for like 2 years, and some plans for that I'm still working on and for the future of it. But I don't know. I don't know. Is anyone panicked or like, are people just worried about losing relevance or their status in the scene? I don't know.
I was actually, there was somebody who I talked to about having come on this, who's an incredible writer. He's a Canadian stand-up comic who lived for years in the UK, and he's been back here and now for a couple of years, and now with what's happening, he's getting out of the business.
Wow.
And he's immensely talented, and it's I really hope that it's just a little bit of self-doubt that he'll get over and he'll get back in. But
if this had happened, it's like my first year in Ottawa, it'd be a really different story, because I kind of started from nothing, like doing all the mics and trying to get booked at the clubs, and I was very fortunate. I worked really hard, and like within the 2.5 year mark, I've been sort of set up here in Ottawa where I wanted to be. So it would be very frustrating. I do feel for like the younger comics that I know who are just getting that first weekend spot, just getting that first shot, and they're losing momentum in all of this. But I think we're gonna figure it out when it comes back, and you'll still see a lot of the same faces. But yeah, in order to stay sane, like projects, and for sure, just kind of seeing everybody. At least people stopped going live like 10 times a day. That first couple of weeks was a little rough.
I was a slow adopter myself, so
Yeah, yeah.
I'm making up for it. I'm doing 4 shows a week. So
That's right. That's right. People are zooming around.
yeah.
But no, it's great. And, I sort of waited, like you asked me to be part of this today. I'm very grateful. It's so much fun. I've only ever done sort of one other kind of Zoom thing last week. And so I was kind of just slow into it all. Again, I'm very lucky. I've got like 2 projects that I was working on even before this happened that I'm able to continue on. So I'm just really, yeah, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So David, I'm just going to say, I hope you and your wife stay happy and healthy.
Thank you.
And to everyone out there who's watching, the same as well. Gabriel Amasi just popped in.
Hey, Gabriel.
So just to give a wave. So I gave a wave back. This will be
all Montreal comics. I get to come out 2 or 3 times a year or whatnot, but what a terrific scene. And I can't wait to see all y'all again at the Nest or wherever. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Scott, thank you. Thank you, David. And yeah, if follow my Facebook page if you want to see my projects, or follow YouTube, hit subscribe. I'm trying to do the arrow thing and covering my own face because I have no sense of camera. But it's and follow David. Please make sure that you are following him on there it is, that wonderful YouTube channel.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah. Make it easier just to follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, for that. Yeah, thanks to family and friends, and especially Eric Toth for coming on today.
It's great, and it's I'm glad that we're able to present a fun show. Peter Bowen is giving us a rock on and a namaste. So
yeah, family and friends of David Brennan, follow Paul Ash Comedy. And subscribe to the YouTube because he's got lots of great stuff, lots of great comics. He's already interviewed for this show. Look, I'm doing a plug in the plug.
A plug in a plug, and yeah, please follow David Brennan, and when we're out of this, make sure you see him live. He is amazing.
And yeah, Saturday, June 13th, the Ottawa Adventure Film Festival. Go to their site and Facebook and get a link. Because then, my stuff aside, these movies are incredible, curated from all over the world. Great thrills and spills. And
Eric, thank you very much for watching. So it's been a pleasure. You take care. And we're gonna be out.
Awesome.
Everyone, oops, I gotta click 2 buttons to do that. So thank you.
Be well, Montreal. Love you.
Love you all. And it hasn't ended. There we are. What is it? We're having trouble. Please check my internet connection. This is if I have a bad internet connection, I shouldn't be seeing David on my screen. This is weird. It's telling me it can't disconnect from the show because I'm not connected to the internet. How? What? This is I think we've just become the devil car from The Car. My computer is saying, no, we're having too much fun. This is
another
this is I can't, this is I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna have to maybe close the screen.
Should I'll X out of here too?
Yeah.
Show that never ended.
The show that never ends. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you very much, David, for being on this. We're gonna try to figure this out.
Yeah.
All right. I might need an exorcist.